Welcome to Lead Your Life, the podcast for people who are seeking harmony in business and in life. My name is Debbie Heiser, and I'm an inner mastery and business mindset coach and the chief igniter here at the Lit Up Life. I feel an urgency to help people let go of past messaging so that they can make a lot of money doing what they love without sacrificing what they value most. Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Straight from the corners of my mind is where I find my sanity. It's a place, another land.
Hello, and welcome to Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. My name is Debbie Heiser. I help entrepreneurs make a lot of money doing what they love to do without sacrificing what's important to them. And I love this time of year. The last episode, we talked about choosing a word for 2025. And this episode, we're going to talk about the power of reflection that can then elevate our vibration so that we go in really strong into the upcoming year, 2025. So as we approach the end of this year, we want to prepare and have like fresh energy for the new one. And I know like stress levels can be a little bit higher during the holidays. And I just would ask you to be gentle with yourself, let go of some expectations. You don't have to do it all. But I really want to dive into today this important concept about reflection, because it's not just about looking back on what we've accomplished or where we may still have some work to do, but it's also about learning, it's about growing, it's about setting this tone for an exciting 2025. So today we're going to really take a look at a few things. First is why reflecting on the past year is a foundation to setting your upcoming goals. Then I'm going to discuss with you and share with you some techniques to help you reflect, and then how that process helps raise your vibration so you're ready to really thrive in 2025. Oh, that kind of rhymes. Huh. Anyway, let's talk about why reflection matters before we get into this too far. So when we think about reflection, it's such an important practice. And it's not only an important practice at the end of the year, but all through the year. And later, I'm going to share with you a few things to help you reflect as you go through the year. But as we're looking now at December and looking back to January, it allows us to take stock really of what's happened, thinking about the experiences that we had. I think about, I went to the Dominican Republic, I went to Costa Rica, um, I went to Belize, I was in Italy, I went to Sedona and did a hot air balloon ride. I e-biked through Tuscany. Like for me, travel is an important piece. So when I look back, I see those experiences and I'm so grateful for that. But then I also look deeper into some experiences where spending time with my grandson, having a new grandson born over this last year and experiencing that love and like the emotion that comes around it. So it's not always about just the doing part of it. We do want to look at experiences in both avenues of that. Your accomplishments are important to look at. And then it's really important also to look at what were the challenges? What were the things that we ran into? And what are some of the lessons that we can learn from that? So, spoiler alert, not really a spoiler alert, but I want to tell you here's an exercise that you can do that will help you to actually think more about this. Now, sometimes I have to look at my calendar to help remind me of some of what's happened, because sometimes the months and the years kind of combine together for me. But when you do this, take 4 pieces of paper and write experiences at the top of one, accomplishments at the top of another, challenges and lessons. And then just brainstorm. Now, brainstorming simply means you're not going to filter. You're going to brainstorm anything and everything that happened, how you felt about it, what were the things that you accomplished. Some of those accomplishments might have been things on a bucket list. Some of them may not have. I think back a few years ago, 2019, one of the beautiful accomplishments for me, and it was a bucket list item, was that I wanted to dance with my son at his wedding, and that happened, right? So these can be incumbent of a lot of different things. It can be just about business if you just want to focus there. You do what's right for you there. So, before I go on and give you some information about why this practice is important and some tips, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back. Let's talk about something every entrepreneur faces: selling. It's one of the biggest topics I hear from my community and clients. How can I sell without feeling the ick? I get it. And that's exactly why I created an ebook that guides you through the same script I use to grow my business year after year by leading sales conversations with heart and soul. If you want a selling approach that feels right, head over to thelituplife.com/ebook and grab your copy today. Now, let's get back to today's episode. Okay, so we know it's important to reflect and looking at all of the things that have occurred, both in the doing and who we were being. But now, why is that important? So I'm really big on self-awareness. And, when you think about the two things that this practice really helps with, one is self-awareness and learning. And the second is giving you some clarity to be able to move forward. So when you think about self-awareness and learning, when we take that time to reflect, I gain a better understanding of what worked and what didn't work. And, some research, Harvard Business School did some research around this, and they figured out, and through this research, that employees who took 15 minutes to reflect at the end of the day performed 23% better over time than those who didn't reflect at all. So this applies not just in our work, but in our life. So taking time to pause, evaluate how the day went, it helps you identify patterns and strengths that you have, maybe some areas for growth. One of the things that I ask my clients a lot of times to do, and I do this myself, is, and there's an app out there called the 5 Minute Journal that can help you with this too, is I take a look at and say, what were the 3 wins that I had today? And again, these wins don't have to be that I cured cancer, right? It can be a small, and I don't even like using small and large because I feel like that has a lot of judgment to it. And so don't think about them as being small and large, but it can be as much as I jumped right out of bed and did what I wanted to get done this morning, to I had a huge program launch, right? So it can be many things, but write down those 3 wins that you have every day. And then what are 3 things that you're grateful for? One of the things I'm grateful for this time of year, and I saw them again this morning, was when I come across the bridge, we have wild swans that migrate through here. And I just love seeing the swans on the lake. So do that as a daily practice, and it will help you with self-awareness and learning. Looking back over the year, the same thing holds true. We want to look at those patterns, right? Because then those are the patterns that we want to potentially change. And some of them we want to keep doing. So the second in this is it helps us get really clear so that we can look forward and move forward. So we can identify them what's truly important to us. And, there are a lot of studies out there that find that when we regularly reflect on the past, it's more likely to set us up to achieve and set new and more meaningful goals. So it's like using the past as a roadmap so that we can fine tune the direction for the future. Now, the next episode, I'm going to talk about goal setting, and not in the way that you have typically probably heard of goal setting. We're going to talk about how to set juicy goals that motivate you, because if you want to lose something or stop something, that is not a goal, that is a task. And I know I was trained to look at goals and the tasks were more considered a goal. That's not the case. Goal needs to be something surrounded with play, and it needs to be something that's really juicy for you. So I don't want to give that away, but we're going to talk about that in the next episode. So if you think about self-awareness and learning, gaining clarity to set goals for the future, it's really important. It's kind of a slippery slope, because reflection isn't really about beating yourself up for what you didn't do. It's about learning and setting yourself up for success in the upcoming year. Because if you believe that, for me, it's God, if God is always for me, then I know that whatever I'm going through, even if it's a challenge, or even if it's something I didn't do, or it felt like I didn't do something correctly, or whatever the case would be, there is a learning lesson in that. And so I try to look at that as a miracle, and that I'm moving forward because those things happened. So what are some ways that you can reflect on 2024? I gave you one earlier about making the list, doing some wins and gratitude, but reflection really can take a lot of different forms. And here's the deal. It doesn't have to be overwhelming and it doesn't have to be super formal. So here's some tips and some tools to help you as you look at reflecting, because we really want this to be productive. We want it to raise your energy rather than lowering your energy. When you beat yourself up, your energy vibration goes down. And many of you that have followed me for a while know I've talked about this, that you attract what you're vibrating. So this is about raising your vibration and looking at all of the things that have happened over 2024. So here's a few tools. One is journal prompts. Part of that with the list, it was a part of that. But when you write things down, it helps you to organize your thoughts, helps you to organize your emotions. And so some helpful prompts would include, what are you most proud of in 2024? What were your biggest challenges and what did you learn from them? And hopefully that would come up as you do your list. What brought me the most joy and how can I bring more of that into the new year? We've talked before about sometimes if I want joy, it usually means I have it already. But what we focus on gets bigger. So I have clients also say, okay, give me 3 things today that brought you joy or that you found that you were joyful when you were doing them. Because as you focus on seeing it, you will see more and more and more. Then the last journal prompt that I have for you is, what are you ready to let go of? There are things that we hold on to because we're gaining something from them. And sometimes the gain is not always honoring to us. So let your thoughts wander. And if you have other questions, feel free to add those. But, journal a little bit on some of those things. Give some thought to those. Go on a nature walk and think through some of that. Then, if this is applicable, if you did a vision board last year or picked out a word from last year, look at your vision board. I was reflecting and I was looking at my vision board that's right over here on the wall. And I shared it with my mastermind gals that I travel with, because I had that this was the year I was going to take a hot air balloon. Now, I had that on my vision board before we had even talked about doing that in Sedona, and it happened, right? And this is the power of the subconscious mind. Now, we'll also be doing a vision board night, January 14th. So in the show notes, you'll see a link if you, we ask that you register because we're using Zoom for it. But if you want to create a vision board for 2025, please join us on that night. It would be fun to have you. Now, the third one that I suggest to you is gratitude. And gratitude practices are really powerful because it shifts your focus. Earlier, I was mentioning what you focus on gets bigger. So when you look at kind of what didn't go so well, what do I still need to do or learn from, start with what went well and what are you thankful for from the past year? And because when we reflect from a place of gratitude, when we reflect from a place that everything is a miracle, again, that raises our vibration. So look at and think about the things that you're grateful for. And just throughout the next, 30 days or so, just offer up some gratitude for all of that that's happened. Another way is meditation. So if you prefer a little bit quieter, less structured approach, meditation is a great tool. You can sit in stillness. You can go through some guided meditations. There are some great apps out there. Even my Aura Ring has meditations on the app that you can listen to that are guided meditations. Now, when you meditate, focus on the feelings and sensations in your body that come up rather than thinking about successes or failures. And things that come into your thoughts, feelings that you have in your body, those are all teaching you and telling you things when you're meditating. Another one, and I mentioned the wins earlier, is instead of making a to-do list for next year, make a wins list for the past year. And then think about the wins that you want to have for 2025, right? So write down all of the things, right, that you accomplished. Now, I do this sometimes because if I'm kind of in a low vibration energy mode, or I'm feeling like I'm not getting a lot accomplished, or oh my gosh, half the day's already gone, I'll actually take 5 minutes and say, okay, what all just happened in the last 4 hours, right? Like what happened? What did I do? Who was I being? Was I showing up as my favorite self and that best version of who I am? And it's interesting how that shifts. That's that gap and gain thinking. And it raises your vibration to provide you more energy, stamina, and an open heart to go forward in the day. Okay, so I want to give you a little warning here, some danger ahead. We're going to talk here about something critical, meaning how we reflect. And I've talked a little bit about this, about not beating yourself up. So make sure you're celebrating your progress. You may have had something that you wanted to accomplish by the end of the year, but you're so much further along than you were before. Celebrate that, right? I even talk to people that they're like, oh, I went back to a pattern that I used to have in my past. And, I tell them celebrate the fact that you recognized it so quickly. So sometimes we're taught to see the large things or the accomplishments, look at the things and celebrate all the time, right? So don't just celebrate a task list because that can be busyness, and busyness doesn't always get you where you want to go, but celebrate how you felt. Did relationships change? Did connection occur? So try to celebrate by not judging the large or small, because any behavior change is awesome. Now, I hear a lot too about how you learn from your failures. I prefer to really reframe this to what lessons did I learn? Because to me, the word failure, I've talked about the linguistic environment meaning a lot. Failure to me has such implied judgment. So for me, it's more about knowing, for me, it's God. I mentioned this earlier, that God is always for me. So what did I learn? What can I take away from this that didn't go the way I thought it would? Or maybe I had expectations and I need to let go of those and surrender the expectations. So reframing failures as lessons really has helped me. So ask yourself, what did you learn from it? And really, when I look back and reflect, often the most challenging experiences carried the greatest lessons for me. So really reframe this so that you can go forward in a higher vibration. Now, visualize and have your energy in alignment. So visualize this upcoming year, 2025. How do you want to feel at the end of 2025 when you're doing this? Who do you want to have been? Who were you during 2025? So visualizing these things not only raises your vibrations, but many of you have maybe heard me say this before. I don't like the phrase fake it till you make it. I like be it till you become it. So if I'm visualizing who I need to be to do the things that I want to do in 2025, I need to come from that place, make decisions from that place, move forward from that place, not from where I'm at today. And as you do this, you're already changing in your mind. So tune that internal frequency to that. So to wrap up, I want you to remember that reflection can be a really powerful tool when you look at it in a way of what did I learn and how do I want to move forward. So it does help us learn, it helps us grow, it helps us set meaningful goals for 2025. And whether that's journaling, meditation, creating a vision board, whatever it may be for you, really go into 2025 with an intention. That's probably the biggest thing I would say. Go into it with an intention, not expectation, but an intention of, like, as an example, I want to surround myself with interesting people that want to be around me and that we help raise each other up, kind of like the saying of or the tide rises all ships. And so that's an intention that I have. My word, as I mentioned last time, is connection and connecting with people that are super interesting. And that just jazzes me. So anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, I would ask you to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave us a review. Thank you for joining me today. And I hope that these tips and techniques really helped you as you approach the end of the year and as you look forward into 2025. Take a listen. It's coming out on New Year's Eve about goal setting. So with that, until next time, keep growing and stay aligned with your highest self. See you next week. That's a wrap for this conversation. I'm so glad you've joined us. Remember to subscribe to the podcast so you can catch all of our future episodes, and visit us at thelituplife.com for details on how you can become part of the Lit Up Life community. A quick shout out to my friend Jackie Wilson and her friends, the creators of our amazing theme music. Thanks so much for allowing us to share this perfect song with our listeners. Looking forward to having you listen in to our next episode.